Hi guys, welcome back. So today I've got another tutorial where we're going to be creating this kind of image slider you see when we swipe. We can also grab as well, and yeah, we'll just slide to the next the slider. Okay. So this works good on mobile devices as well, where we've added touch events. So if I just go here, and you can see, yeah, it's looking good. When we click on an image, it kind of fills out the full screen as well. Okay, so it's just kind of a tutorial on getting used to our touch events and just making our kind of applications work properly on both laptops and mobile devices. Okay, so yeah, I hope you enjoy, guys, and let's get going. Thanks. Right, so to get started, guys, we have just the index.html file, a style.css file, and an app.js file. I've also got an images folder here containing 6 images from unsplash.com. Yeah, you'll notice the naming convention I've used here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, all.jpegs as well. This is very important for this project because we're going to be using JavaScript to set the divs with the appropriate image background. Okay, so use this naming convention for this project. So if you come to our index.html file, I'm just going to use Emmet to get a boilerplate up and running. In the title, we'll just say a swipe gallery. So this is going to be a gallery which is, we're going to be looking at this on the mobile phone device as well as laptops and computers as well. So in the link, in the head, I'm just going to link to our style.css, and then in the body we'll do a script source and we'll just say app.js like so. Now coming to the body next, we're going to say first we're going to have a header. And then within this header, we'll just have a H1. I'm just going to use my name for now. Put whatever you want here. This could be like a company logo or whatever, your website logo, anything you want really. And then underneath this, I'm going to have a main element. And in here, we're just going to have a div class of content. This will contain our kind of image sliders. I'm going to use the section tag to implement these sliders. And within these sections, we're just going to have a div of a class of img for image, like so. And we're going to have 6 sliders in total, so I'll just copy this down 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think that's all we need for our HTML. So there's not a lot of HTML required for this, so that's good. So if we move into our style.css next, let's just open this in live server. And I'll just bring that over to my screen here. Okay. So let's just minimize that, make it look so we can see it. Okay, so if we come to our style.css next, and the first thing I want to do in our style.css is we'll just set the global settings. Okay, so do a star here, we'll say margin 0, padding 0. You'll see that gets rid of the default margins and paddings, and then we'll just say box sizing of border box as well. Okay, and then underneath this, I'm just going to say we'll just specify the text color, and that's going to be this kind of white color for now. So we're going to use E3, E3, E3. Okay, so it's quite a subtle white font color there. I'm also just going to use the Poppins font for this. So if we type in Poppins font, it's a Google free font. So come here, and then I'm just going to get the we'll go for the thin one. I like the thin style. We'll copy this HTML link tag here, and we'll paste that in our document header, like so. And then we'll also just copy this CSS selector here. And then if we come back, we paste that in the here, you'll see we get that nice thin font applied. So it looks a lot better than the default font. Okay, so now underneath this, the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to set a CSS variable here. Okay, so say root, and here we're just going to say it's going to be app height, and here we're going to set this to 100%. And I'll explain why I'm doing this later, but basically with mobile phones, the viewport height isn't aligned to the actual viewport height of the iOS browsers. So we have to use some JavaScript to manipulate this CSS variable just to make it work on mobile devices correctly, this project. So you'll see shortly what I mean. But let's just set that for now. In the root, we'll just set the app height to 100%. Now, underneath this, I'm going to next set the HTML and the body. And here we're just going to say width. Set the width to 100%. And then we'll also say a height of 100 viewport heights first initially. And then we also want to set a fallback height here. We're going to say height, and then we're going to use the CSS variable we set, and we're going to use the app height we set above. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be using JavaScript to change this to work with the correct browser, or the browser that the project's being viewed in. And then underneath this, I'm also just going to set the overscroll behavior to none. So we'll say overscroll behavior, and then we'll just say none. Okay, so what that does, that just gets rid of that bounce. So when we scroll, you'll see that bounce we get. If we set that to none, we know that that's no longer occurring. Okay, so I'm scrolling up there and there's no bounce. And then I just want to set the background color here as well. We'll say background color, and that's just going to be 121212. So a really dark kind of grey color. Okay, so now come underneath this. Next one I want to do is just select the header. So say .header, and then we just position this fixed. So we're going to fix this to the top. So say top 0, left 0, a width of 100%. 100%, and then we'll just say a height of 50 pixels like so. And then I also want to say here display flex. Display, it's really annoying that that's appearing in front of it. Okay, display flex. Okay, and then we'll say align items center. And then we'll also say a z-index of 2 to make this appear in front of all the other elements. We're going to set the pointer events to none. Okay, and what this does, this just stops any kind of click events happening. So it will go through to the whatever's behind this header. So there's no kind of menu toggles in here or anything like that. So we don't need any pointer events on this. So yeah, that's what that does. So pointer events none. And then I'm also just going to say padding left. We'll just say 2%, and that'll give it a slight white space to the left of the screen. Okay, so now underneath this, I'm just going to select the H1 element. I want to make that text a bit smaller, so say H1. I'm just going to say font size, make it 15 pixels. Okay, that's probably a bit too small actually. Let's try go for 20. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so now what I want to do is we're just going to say, we're going to select our main element, we're going to position that fixed as well. And then within here, we'll just make this the width and height of the screen. So say top 0, left 0, width 100%, and we'll give it a height of 100 viewport heights, like so. And then, so the next one I want to do here is I'm just going to specify the overflow to be hidden, okay? And then what we're going to do, the content div contain, we're going to be translating this to make it look like we can scroll or swipe the content, but this main element will always be fixed to the screen. Okay, so now let's just grab that content div now, so say .content. And here we'll just say position. Absolute, position this absolute relative to the main parent container, top 0, left 0, a width of 100%, and then we'll also just say a transition of 0.5 seconds, and this will animate the content div when we swipe, and it will take half a second to swipe between the slides, the inner slides. Okay, and then we can also just say here will change transform, and that will just let the browser, it will optimize the browser to perform transformations on this content div. And then underneath this, we're just going to do the section elements next. So these are going to be the sliders. We're going to position these relative, and we're going to specify the height. And again, we're going to use that variable we used at the top. So we'll say var app height, like so. Don't need two vars there. Yeah, semicolon. Okay, and then underneath this, we'll just say a width of 100%. 100%, and we'll just say overflow hidden here. this is important because we're going to be expanding the inner images in these sliders when we click on them. Okay, so that's pretty much it for our sections. Just two more things left. So now we just need to target the image divs. So say .image. We're going to position these absolute. And then we're just going to say here left 20%, top 20%, and then we'll say a width of 80%, and then, no, that should be 60%, sorry, not 80%, because we need to account for 20% on both sides to make it nice and centered. So we'll say 60%, and then we'll just say a height of 60%. Okay, it's just so you can see that if you set the background color to red. Okay, so why can't we see that at the moment? It's got left top, width, position that relative. A div class of image there. Let's just okay, so why are we not seeing that? Let me set, guys, just checking the console to see what's going on here. Okay, so it looks like our sections aren't let's just set that to 100% for now. Okay, yeah, that works because we need to adjust that with JavaScript. Okay, yeah, we'll leave it there for now. But you can see that's where our image will be in the section. Okay, so let's just remove that color, and then we'll also just remove that red color. Now underneath this, I'm just going to say background size of cover. And then we'll also just say background position, center. And then we're also going to say transform. And we're going to set the initial scale to 1. Okay, so that's the original size. And then when we click on this, we're going to scale it up so it fills the screen, okay? So we're going to do a transition to 0.5 seconds again. And then we'll say filter. I just want to add a grayscale filter to this, and we'll just say 50% to our images, okay? And then what we're going to do is when we apply an active class to these images, we'll just say .image.active. We're just going to say transform, and we'll just say scale, and we want to scale it up by 70%, so we just say 1.7. Okay, and that's it for our CSS. So let's move on to the JavaScript now. If we come here, so I'm just going to say in our JavaScript, let's just get our kind of selectors going first. So here we'll just say const, and we want to first target the main element, say equals, say main L equals document dot query selector, and I'll just say main in there like so. Then we want to target the content div, so say content equals document dot query selector again, and then we'll just say dot content, and then we next going to target all of our image divs. So we'll just say const images equals, we use a spread operator array here, and then we just say documents dot query selector all, and then we can say dot image. Okay, and then what we're going to do now is just loop through all those images, that array of images. Okay, so say images dot for each image, we need to pass in the index as well, so say image index, and then we'll just say image dot style dot background image, and that's going to equal, we'll do a template list rule, so use backticks here, we'll say URL, we'll point it to our images folder, and then we're just going to say idx +1 .jpeg. Okay, so now you can see our image has been applied. And we're using this +1 here because remember our naming convention, we start off at 1, okay? And this for each, the first index will be 0. So that's why we're just adding 1 to our index. Okay, don't forget to add the dot there, / to point it to your images folder. Okay, so now underneath this, we also just want to add an event listener to all of our images. So we'll say image.add event listener. We want to listen out for a click. And here, we're just going to do an arrow function, and we're just going to say image.classList.toggle. That should be toggle. And then we're just going to say, we want to toggle that active class. Okay, so now you'll see if we click, we get that animation occur on images and it fills out the screen. Okay, I might actually just add a pointer. So we'll just say a cursor pointer, just to let the user know we can click on it. And there you go. Okay, so that's quite a cool effect, I think. And that will be applied to all of the other images, but we can't scroll down at the moment because remember our main element is fixed to the screen. Okay, so now coming out of this, we're just going to set two kind of variables now. So we'll say let current equal 0 and let slide equal 0. Okay, this current variable will be used to kind of measure the amount of pixels we've translated that content div. So say measure content translate pixel amount. And then this slide will it will store the current slide number we're on. Okay, and then underneath this, the next thing we want to do, we're going to use, remember I explained briefly earlier about that kind of issue we have with mobile devices where the viewport height doesn't work as it does on a browser, on a kind of PC or laptop. So to get around this problem, the first thing we're going to do here, so I'll just comment this actually, we'll just say set app height to be window dot inner height, as viewport height doesn't work the same way on mobile devices. Okay, and just to reference, you know, how I found this solution. When I was initially making this on the when I was testing it on my mobile device, I noticed there was kind of this VH problem with iOS and Safari, and so there's a good article here which I'll post in the description as well, and it gives us a kind of a JavaScript and CSS solution here. So what we do, we have a function called app height, and let's just create it now actually, and I'll walk you through it. Okay, so we'll come back here. Now, if we just go down, so we'll create that. Well, first, what we want to do is just get the actual we want to get a shorthand way of getting the document element. So we'll just say const doc equals document dot document element. Okay, and then what we're going to do here, we're going to create a function next. We'll say const app height equals, do an arrow function syntax here, and then we're going to take that doc. We're going to say .style .set property. Okay, and this will give us access to the kind of CSS variable we set, that app, say app -height in our CSS. Okay, and then what we want to do here is we want to set that. We're going to use backticks here, and we're just going to say window.inner height, and then add pixels at the end. Okay, and then what we're going to say as well is going to take that current variable, okay, because we're going to be running this function whenever we resize the window, obviously just to reset the dimensions. So I'm just going to say that equals minus slide times that window.inner height. Okay, and then so whenever we resize our screen, we're taking that current variable, and then we're just we'll scroll to that position when we resize. Okay, so it's taking the slide number we're on, and then when we resize, it'll always make sure that we stay in the same dimensions when we resize the page. And then we're just going to say here content.style.transform equals, and then we use backticks here. We'll say translate y, and then we can just say So that will be current pixels. Okay, so we'll just do a template literal here. We can just say current, should be a $, current px, like so. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is I'm just going to add an event listener. So I'll say window.add event listener. We'll listen up for a resize, and then we'll just say we'll call that app height function, and then we also just want to run that on the page load as well. So just run that here like so. And then what I want to do next in my CSS is if we come back to our section here, and I'm just going to say, we'll set this to that variable, say var app height. Okay, and you'll see now it still works because we're using JavaScript to set that app height variable. So now this will work pretty good on mobile devices. I'm not sure if the Chrome console will give you a true indication of it, but I did test this on the mobile device. I could probably show you that later actually as well in the video, but it will work. Okay, so that's it for that section. We got our kind of height dimensions working now. So now underneath this, the next thing we want to do here is we're going to add some event listeners to our slider now. I'm going to start with the kind of we'll start with the mouse and the wheel events. Okay, so say main L dot add event listener. We want to listen out for a first listen. Actually, let's just do this all in one go. We'll say first one listen out for is a touch start. Okay, so this is for mobile devices. So when we touch screen devices, and we're going to create a function called start touch, and then we go into we'll leave that as it is for now. That's fine. And then also we're just going to say main L.add event listener. There's a few event listeners here just to make this work on multiple platforms. So we're going to say touch end, and then the function that calls is going to be called end touch. And then we're going to have also a touch move function. So main L.add event listener, listen up for a touch move. And then that is, we'll just have a function called move touch. Okay, and then we also, so this touch start, this is when the user places their finger on a touch screen. This is when the touch end is when the user removes their finger from the touch screen. And touch move is just when the user moves their finger over the surface of a touch screen, okay? We also want to just add some mouse events as well to do the same thing on a laptop or desktop or PC, whatever. So we'll just say main L.add event listener. We're going to listen up for the mouse down, which is the kind of equivalent of the touch start. That's when the user clicks their mouse. Then we just say start mouse down. This is going to be a function we create in a sec. And then also we'll do the same thing for mouse up. I'll just say same kind of thing, start mouse up. And then also we just want to add a wheel function as well. So this is when the user scrolls on the wheel or moves their two fingers on the trackpad of a laptop. Okay, and then I'm just going to call this, just say wheel func for now. Okay, so we've added our event listeners now. So the first thing we want to do here is I'll probably just create the, let's just do the laptop and the mouse events first, then we'll move to the touch screen. Okay, so this will be for the mouse grab, mouse wheel, and trackpads on laptops. Okay, that's gonna bug me. Okay, now, so the first thing we're going to do here is going to set a variable called can swipe. Okay, and that's going to equal to true. Okay, so this will allow us to perform or scroll or to swipe on our trackpads. Okay, if this is set to false, the function we use won't work. Okay, and we want to do that because the wheel event can trigger off like multiple events in a pretty rapidly. So you can get like, I don't know, about 20 events per second. So it's quite a lot. So we need to kind of use this variable to stop it, the function recalling. So that's what this is going to be used for. And then we're going to set that function, that wheel func, that we created here in this wheel function here. That's going to take in the event, and we're going to do an if statement in here. So we're going to say if, and we're going to say can swipe. Okay, so if this is set to true, which it will be initially on page load, then it will enter this if statement, and then we want to handle the swipe up first. Okay, so we're going to say here if e. Actually, let's just console.log e. Okay, and then I just want to comment these out just so you can see. So if we come here, you'll see this is the you'll see that these are all the events we're getting in the console. Okay, when we do the mouse wheel event, you can see we get quite a large amount per swipe. Okay, you can see that's going up quite a lot. And in this wheel event, we have the attribute we want to look out for is this delta y. Okay, it's called delta y. So let me just say e dot delta y. Okay, and this would either be a positive number, and it's positive when we scroll down, or if I scroll up, it's negative. You see we get the minuses there. That's when we scroll up. Okay, so that's how we determine which direction we're scrolling or swiping for this. Okay, so what we're going to say here in this swipe up section, we're going to say if e dot delta y is greater than 60. Okay, so it's got to be quite a harsh swipe, a big swipe. You can see it goes up to like the kind of 80s and 90s there. Okay, and that was just for a single swipe. And we also need to say here and the current variable is not equal to minus, and I want to say window dot inner height times 5. Okay, that means if we're at this point here, if we've translated our content to this minus window dot inner height times 5, that means we're at the bottom of our slider content. So that means we don't want to be swiping up anymore. Okay, so that's why we're including this, and current is not equal to that amount. Then we're going to say here, the first thing we're going to do is just set that initial swipe, this can swipe, to false. Okay, so say can swipe equals false, and that will stop the additional wheel events that trigger from triggering this function. Okay, because we only want it to trigger once. So we set that to false, and then we're going to say current. We're going to just minus equals, so we're going to subtract the window dot inner height. Okay, and then we're also going to say slide plus plus, because we want to increment the slide value, because if we're scrolling up, swiping up, that means that we go to the next slide down, so we want to increase the slide number. And then we're just going to say then content, we're going to get our content, we're going to say dot style dot transform equals, use backticks here, so translate y, and here we're just going to use a template literal, and we're just going to take that current and we're just going to say pixels. Okay, and then once we've done this, next thing we want to do here is we're going to do a set timeout. Okay, so set a timeout here, we'll do an arrow function, and then we're just going to say can swipe equals true, and we want to make that true around after just 1 second. Okay, just so we can swipe again. Okay, so now you'll see when we swipe down, I'm swiping down, and we're getting that nice swiping action. Okay, so that's just me swiping down on my mouse. Okay, so that's all working. Now what we need to handle is the swipe down. Okay, so let's just we'll come underneath this if statement here, and we'll just say swipe down. It's going to be pretty similar really, so I'll probably just copy this. And here, if you're swiping down, it's obviously going to be less, so we're going to do the opposite really, so less of minus 60, and we want to say current is not equal to 0. Okay, then what we're going to say, we're going to just change the can swipe to be false again, although this time we're going to just increment by the current variable by the window.height, and then we're going to say slide minus minus. Okay, And then we'll just say content.style.transform, that's the same, and then we apply the same set timeout. Okay, so now we should be able to scroll. If I'm scrolling up now and that's not working, okay, because remember we've got our current is set to 0, and that's therefore as that's and current is not equal, it's not going to this if statement, so that swipe up's not working at the top slider, but it will work when we go down. And same at the bottom as well. If I go down to the bottom slider, this is the bottom one, I'm swiping down now and we're getting no more transformation applied. Okay, so that's our wheel event done. Okay, so now I'm just going to uncomment those the mouse down and mouse up, because we also want to just apply a grab function here as well, just so we could grab if we wanted to, so we could click and drag down, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's do that. We'll come under this function, this wheel func here, and we'll just say function start mouse down. Okay, and that again takes in the event. And what we want to do here is we're just going to create 2 more variables. Okay, so let me just, so I'm going to create 2 variables about this actually. We're going to say let initial start equal, we'll just say 0 for now, and then we'll say let initial y as well, let initial y, and that's going to just be, we'll just set that to null. Sorry, no, we'll set initial start and initial end. We'll say let initial end equal 0, and then we'll say let initial y equal 0, and let end y equal 0 as well. Okay, so we're going to be in this start mouse down. So this is when the user clicks on the main element, okay? So when the mouse down is just the initial mouse press, and in this function we're going to say we're going to get that initial start, okay, and they're going to say date dot now, okay. And what this does, if we just type in date dot now here, this gives us the amount of milliseconds that have passed since, I think it's the 1st of January 1970 or something like that. So we can use this to see how long we've clicked down. So we set the initial start to that millisecond time, and then we want to set that initial y variable as well. So say initial y equals e.client y. Okay, and that's the number of pixels down the screen that our mouse has clicked. Okay, and then we'll just create the next function. So say function just say start mouse up. Again, it takes in the event, and here we're going to just set the initial end. So we'll say initial end equals, again we use that dates.now, like so, and then we'll just say end y equals e.client y as well, and then let's just console log. Okay, so if we console.log, we can say initial end minus initial start. Okay, so now you'll see when I click and drag down, it gives us the amount of minutes. So I'm clicking, if I click down now, if I clicked for around 5 seconds, 4, 5, you should see we get around 5,000. Okay, so this is the amount of milliseconds we click down. Okay, because we're subtracting that end from the initial start time. Okay, so that will just give us the time that because when we grab in here, we only want to grab for a short amount to get the function to work. Okay, and then so now what we want to do is I'm just going to say an if statement in here, and we'll say if initial end minus initial start is less than 800 milliseconds, then we're going to call a swipe function, which we're going to create now. Say swipe, like so. Okay, so let's just, we'll create this swipe function now. So I'll just say function swipe, not switch, swipe. And here we're going to say if end y, so that end y variable, which is the endpoint where we lift up our mouse, minus the initial y, if that's less than minus 50, which means we've swiped up or we've grabbed and dragged up, okay, so say drag up slash swipe up. Okay, and then what we're going to say here, we do another nested if statement. We'll say if the current variable is not equal, then we need to check that we're not at the bottom of the content. So I'm just going to say it's not equal to minus, and we'll use that window.innerHeight times 5. Then what we want to do here is we're going to say current minus equals window.innerHeight. And then we'll say slide plus plus to increment the slide number. And then coming after this, we'll just say else if, and then we can say the end y minus initial y is greater than 50. And then again, we'll do a nested if statement. We'll say if current is not equal to 0. I could have just added this on the end of that actually, but we'll just do it this way for now to save time. I'll just say current plus equals, and we'll just say window.innerHeight, and then we'll say slide minus minus. Okay, and then coming out of this, we're just going to say at the end we want to transform the content div. So we'll say content.style.transform equals, and we'll just say translate y, template this rule, current pixels. Okay, so let's see if this is working. Now when I grab and lift up, we're getting that kind of grabbing. Okay, we could have like actually a grabbing cursor here. So if I just say cursor grab, just to show that the user can actually click and drag this as well. Okay, so that's me clicking and dragging and moving the slider. And again, when we get to the bottom, it doesn't scroll up, and vice versa with the top as well. It doesn't continue to translate down. Okay, so this is the top one now, and that's all working great. So we're nearly there, guys. What else we need to do? So we've got our mouse. Now we just need to do our I think we just need to do our touch screens now. So if we just say here, so we've got our swipe function. One thing I did want to do here is just this move touch. Let's uncomment these now. So function move touch. So move. This is, we're not really going to be doing anything with this move touch. Okay, all we're going to do is just pass the event. We're just going to say e.prevent default, and this will just stop any kind of default sliding occurring. Okay, so we don't want to be using like kind of swipe motions on this page. Okay, so don't want any kind of sliding to take place. So just say prevent default like so, and that will stop that. So let's just finish off with the touch screen. So we'll just say it's these. We've got the mouse down and mouse up. Let's just do touch screen now. So we'll just say touch screens, and here I'm just going to say function. Say start. Let's just uncomment these touch event listeners up here. Okay, so say function start touch. Again, that takes in the event. And it's going to be similar to our kind of mouse down events, really. So all we're going to say here is, bear me a sec. Okay, yeah, so start touch, we're just going to say initial start again. We're going to use that date.now, like so. And then we're also just going to get the current Y position, so say initial Y equals, and we'll just say e.touches 0.client Y. That should be a 0 there, like so. Okay, so this will get the touch event. So this on touch, or what was it? Yeah, this touch start event. It has in the event it has this touches array here. So the event has a touches array, and then the first instance of that array contains the kind of pixel coordinates, and we're using that client Y coordinate. Okay. So we're setting that initial Y variable to be that. And then we just want to say function end touch. Again, that takes in the event. And we're going to set the initial end to equal date.now. And then we're just going to say end Y equals E. And for the for this touch end, we want to access in the event, there's object property called changed touches. Okay, and then we access again the first object in that e-touches array, and again we're just going to use the client Y again. And as we did with the mouse up, we're just going to say if initial end, and we're going to say minus initial start is less than 800. Then we'll just say swipe, call that swipe function. Okay, so if we let's just see this working. So if we set this to a mobile, and that shows that we are getting this working on a mobile as well. Okay, so let's make that. Okay, and then we're getting the same kind of effect there you see when we click on the images. Looks pretty cool, I think. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it there, guys. What you'll notice as well, we do have some warnings here. Oh, we did have. Where are they? Let's come out of this. Yeah, we have these kind of passive event listeners just to get rid of these warnings. It's just because we have on these touch events, we just need to say passive. I'm going to make that false, okay, just to show that these aren't passive event listeners. Okay, so these are just on our touch. You need to pass in an option here to say passive false. Okay, and if you don't do this, it can be quite buggy on a mobile device. So it's important that you set these to false, and that just removes these. Let's just do that with the will as well. Say passive false. Okay, and that just removes those errors. And it's pretty important. I found if I didn't include these, it just made my mobile go a bit buggy. Okay, so I'll just test this on the mobile phone now. If we just go to my browser, I'll just record my phone screen. And then if we go to here. Okay, so now I'm on the app, so you'll see that works really nice on a mobile phone. So I'm swiping and we get that cool sliding effect. Okay, when we click on the images, they go to the full screen. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to post the link to the code in the description just so you can check it out if you get any errors or anything. But yeah, any questions, don't hesitate to ask or leave me a comment. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Cheers.